But now the audio's working. I realized it as I was talking. That's highly disappointing. Now I feel like I'm echoing for some reason. Give me a second. Might be because the room doesn't have any other noise going on right now, because for whatever reason the TV doesn't have any noise. Alright, well, thanks for everybody tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into tonight's coverage of the Ford 300 at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Another race on our custom schedule season for the NASCAR Busch Series, as we will run as Kyle Busch, trying to get him a championship. Just 14 races to go and a monstrous point lead for Kyle Busch over his teammate Brian Vickers coming into the day. Coming off of the worst finish Kyle Busch has had so far this season, of finishing outside the top 15 for the first time, ended up with a 17th place finish at Charlotte. Another mile and a half, trying to turn it around quickly here, and we are going to get underway quickly. I went through, it was a perfect intro. I've been getting better at the intros lately, but for whatever reason I forgot the audio. I literally had the plug just sitting here. Just dangling from the end of my my table set, or whatever you want to call this. So it was just dangling there. I was like, oh, I'm unplugged, and then I plugged it back in. And so we are about to get off and running here at Homestead. Kyle Busch will be on the pole for this one. His teammate Brian Vickers on the outside of the front row as HMS got the sweep. Green flag is going to be in the air, and we're underway at Homestead. Corey Freitas, IZ, Billy Kramer, Blub, and others, welcome into the stream as we are getting going in the early going here today. Added a bit more downforce to the car, so it might not be as quick as what I had in qualifying. We'll see how this is going to be for the race. Kyle Busch looking for more grip, though, so that way he can last all 300 miles today and not have another bad finish like he did at Charlotte, so he can get closer to clinching that championship a bunch of races early at this rate. Quicker he can get that championship done and out of the way, the less of a chance we have of blowing it. That's the way I look at it, at least. Daniel McKeon, Stephen King, 92 Hammer, also welcome into the stream. So Busch led the opening lap of the race. Kenny Wallace in second, right behind him. Busch not wanting to give that race lead up in the early going. Been racing pretty smart lately. Even though he didn't get a good finish at Charlotte, really it was just a mishap all on his own. And it wasn't because he necessarily was pushing too hard. He just clipped the white line, and it's just so easy to do on some tracks. And there isn't as much forgiveness. At Homestead, there is quite a bit of forgiveness here, so if I clip the apron, I should be alright. It's not a preferred line by any means. Still might get loose, but it's not going to... There's a difference between just getting loose and being able to handle the car, or, you know, maybe slip up out of the groove, and just completely spinning out when you clip the apron, which some tracks you just spin right out. You have no chance to save it. Charlotte was one of those instances, and we made it so far into that race. Dominated it up to that point to have that costly error. Brian Vickers did close the points gap down just a little bit. He ended up finishing just outside the top 10 himself, though, in 12th. Busch led more laps than him and only finished 5 spots behind him. So it definitely could have been worse for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is off to a good pace here in the early going as he's led the first 4 laps. Kind of a 2-car breakaway at the very front of the field. We'll take our first field pass of the day as we'll go to Brian Vickers in the 57, who's already back to 13th after starting second. It's wild that he has fallen back to where he is. Gets around Ryan Newman, quickly to the inside of the 79 of Casey Kane. 3 wide into turn 3. Tony Stewart all the way up on the outside. Clint Boyer widening his groove out in the middle of the corner. Newman follows Vickers, and Brian Vickers back inside the top 10 as he fights forward to 9th. 2-car breakaway. Wade Selinsky, also welcome into the stream. Appreciate a lot of you tuning in here in the early going. Vickers half a lane down on the, half a car, I should say, down on the apron. But he charges forward, back up to 6th place as we go back to Kyle Busch at the front of the field. Busch still trying to keep the 22 of Kenny Wallace behind him. So far, so good. I think Martin Truex Jr. is up to 3rd place back there. Kenny Wallace looking pretty strong here early on. The fact that he is the only one able to actually keep up with Kyle Busch. Been a few races since Kyle Busch's last win. He does have 7 on the season, though, through 19 races. Pretty impressive. Average finish dropped down to a 4.0 after that 17th place finish. It was at a 3.2 going into that race. So just imagine if he could have ended up winning, which he was on pace to doing for most of the race. Ended up finishing 2nd at Kansas and 5th at Daytona in these last 3 races and won the 2 races before that. So he's still finishing very good. He had obviously good cars every single race, even though he didn't get such a good finish at Charlotte. And now Busch is slowly starting to get away from Kenny Wallace, it appears. Car is loosening up already, just 10 laps into the run. Today's race is going to be anywhere between a 2 to a 3 stopper. Just have to see exactly how far they can go on fuel as the run progresses. We'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time tonight in the early go into the race. Kenny was cheered big at Gateway Nationalist. I saw this video I recommended on YouTube. I didn't see how long ago it was, but it said something about like Kenny Wallace is crazy or something, and his celebration after he won a dirt race. I don't even know where it was. It could have been that. I know Flow Racing Network was covering it. It was like, it honestly would be Noah Gragson when he gets older. If Noah Gragson has his victory celebrations like he does now, but then when he gets older, that's basically what Kenny Wallace did. Celebratory-wise, after a win, Kenny Wallace is just the older version of Noah Gragson. Keegan in the cockpit view, that's a sight. That's just because we're alternating through the camera angles. We do this every night for a few laps. I would say it's abnormal. No surprise Kyle Busch has speed once again today, though. Kenny Wallace not really close enough to try to make a pass for the race lead necessarily. I think a lot of that could be the clean air advantage Kyle Busch is dealing with right now. Wouldn't doubt it. See the Goodyear blimp in turns 3 and 4. We'll be seeing it lap after lap. It's just going to be hovering in the same spot the whole time. It's so big, too. Why is it that... Like, why is it so close to the racetrack? You would never see the Goodyear blimp, like, that low to the track. It's usually, like, so high up in the air where you can't even see it. What if it deflates? It's kind of cool that it moves, though. I never really noticed that, honestly. I never noticed that, like, even that airplane with the banner of the EA Sports on it. All that stuff is moving. Brandon Martinez, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm already missing the game of golf already, Billy. Feels bad. I was on such a good roll that last week and a half before the end of the season. The only time the weather was nice enough for me to go out since I shut it down around mid-November was Thanksgiving. It was really about... It was like the second week in November. It was about the last week I was able to play before the weather got worse. But Thanksgiving Day, it was 60 degrees outside, but obviously I had some other stuff going on that day, so I wasn't able to play. And then that Wednesday before, I ended up having to get new tires on my car. And I knew I was getting off of work early, and if I didn't have to get new tires on my car, I would have went. By the time I got out of there, it was only like an hour left of daylight. So that was a bummer. The only reason I even got new tires as soon as I did, I was going to get them before the winter, for sure, and it was getting pretty close. I wasn't going to get them at that time, but I ended up having a flat tire, so I was like, well, I might as well just order 4 new ones. Put the spare on it and took it up there. That was due anyway. Definitely a spur of the moment thing. Well, Kyle Busch has definitely pulled away from Kenny Wallace. A 1 second race lead for the... I almost said the Bushman. I don't even know what... Just, Kyle Busch has enough nicknames as it is right now. We don't need to give him any more. See where Brian Vickers is at once again. And he is currently in 11, so he's dropped back outside the top 10 again. Bobby Labonte looking to the inside. Couldn't quite get there as Brian Vickers was able to pull down right in front of him, and now Ryan Newman to the inside of Labonte for position. It's a battle for 12th. A few Cup Series regulars in this picture. So Vickers not having a great day so far despite qualifying pretty well, and Clint Boyer's in the back half of the top 10 right now. And obviously Kyle Busch has led every lap from the pole. I'm just wondering... Oh, got a little contact going into turn 1 there. Tony Stewart, Shane Neal making contact. Stewart driving right through him. Go one more lap with the 57, then we'll be with the 5 the rest of the race. Just getting these 2 field swaps out of the way in the early going. So we just focus on Busch trying to dominate the rest of the way. Oh, Shane Meal just completely turned down on top of the 57 and Vickers. Right in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Vickers was clearly underneath him. Vickers to the inside of the 32 again, as close to the grass as possible. Down to the bottom, and he'll slide clear off the exit of turn 4. So Vickers back in the top 10 again. And back to Kyle Busch for the rest of the race we go. It's gonna be so weird. It's gonna be so weird seeing Kyle Busch in the number 8 next year. It's gonna be weird not even seeing an 18 car on the track next year. That's gonna be... I don't even know what's gonna be more strange, that or Busch in the 8. Got a car blowing up on the back straightaway, the 119, trying to make his way to pit road. We continue to stay green for right now at lap 28. Still caution-free today. And an easy-going race so far for Kyle Busch. And we'll alternate through the different camera angles for the final time in the race now. So we have worked our way back to the start-finish line again, over a 2-second lead for Busch. Two drivers. If I need to get any I mean, I need a new driver because the one I have right now is pretty much broken. But as far as like other clubs, just to add on additional, I need a couple other wedges. I got a pitching wedge and gap wedge, and that's it. I need to get like a 56 degree or something. A couple different wedges. That's about the only clubs I can actually put spin on the ball with control. Oh, Kenny Wallace is just blowing a motor. Tough break for the 22. He was off to such a good start. And now Kenny Wallace's night is done early. Started inside the top 5, got up to second there in that opening lap, ran in second the whole race until blowing an engine at lap 30. The 2 drivers now out of the race already due to engine failures, and we haven't even gotten halfway through the first fuel run yet. Who's going to be able to step up and try to be the next competition to Kyle Busch, if anybody at all? Kenny Wallace was the only one. I was wondering how that lead got expanded to over 2.5 seconds as quickly as it did. When we transferred to Brian Vickers, it was about a 1.2 to 1.3 second lead. Then we came back and we had about a 2.5 second lead, and that would be why Kenny Wallace has dropped out of the race. In the top 5 in points, too. Gonna make it even easier for Kyle Busch to try to win the championship, as if it wasn't easy enough. I mean, the way I look at it, the sooner we clinch this championship, the more we can focus on the Cup Series. Relax my brain on the Busch Series race nights, and then on the Cup Series, I'll be mentally ready to go, kind of like last night. Caution's out for the first time today at lap 34. And it looks like Michael Jourdain Jr. has gone for a spin. And down into the grass in turns 3 and 4 he goes as well. So, first caution of the day is Jourdain. He got a little loose, slipped up the track into the wall and down into the grass. Again, turns 3 and 4 is where that wreck took place. Kyle Busch is going to stay out of the pits here. He's going to keep the track position. Car's feeling good. Not going to make any adjustments. Didn't even get halfway through the fuel run yet either. And we'll be heading to the restart. Green flag back in the air at lap 38. Carl Edwards will win the race off pit road, so he'll get the restart in second. Caution's going to help save a little bit of fuel. Also, Kenseth cycling to third. I figured everybody was going to pit. I just want to make sure I'm going to keep track position. I'm more worried about that right now than anything else. Carl Edwards all over the back bumper of Kyle Busch, but Busch never got aero loose there at all. Hangs on to the car very well. As he continues to lead laps. Don't forget about your crew chief. Edwards taking a peek. Busch with a block. Holds on to the lead. All the way down into turn 3. A little bit aero loose that time. Edwards definitely hounding the 5. Busch not able to drive away like before. But you can definitely tell that track position matters because he's still hanging on to the lead 4 laps into the restart already. Edwards drives up off the bottom just a little bit. .32.29 won that last lap, fastest of the race for Kyle Busch. Fresh tires maybe could have went a little bit quicker, but at the same time, the car's handling really well right now. Even this far into the run. It's freeing up slowly throughout the course of the run. It seems like every 10 laps or so, it frees up just a little bit more than the prior 10 laps. Pretty fine on entry, honestly. Middle loosens up a little bit, but it's most loose off the exit of the corner. Right as you're making your way off the banking to the flatness of the straightaway. Really the only symmetrical oval on the schedule, even to this day in NASCAR. With 2 straightaways and then 2 kind of longer turns. Sharper angle, but wider turns. Another quickest lap for Busch. And he's built that lead up to about 0.4 of a second over Carl Edwards. Every now and then it'll slip up just a little bit on an inconsistent basis now that we're in the second half of this first tire stint of the race. If we do see a lot of cautions in today's race, it's going to help him save tires. Remember at Kansas, he ended up using quite a few tires in the early going of the race. Gateway's almost like Homestead? Not quite. If you were looking at the track map itself, to a somewhat of an extent, it's like a flat Darlington. Because it's egg-shaped. It's egg-shaped, but it's super flat. It's about the same distance, too. It's about 1.1 miles, not quite 1.5 miles long. Just like Darlington. It's not symmetrical. by any means. He's got 2 long straightaways, but it's like a Milwaukee Mile / Darlington hybrid. Keegan fan, thanks for tuning in. Like how you change your name just for the sake of my channel. That's dedication. Looks like a dedicated fan to me. Derek Booth, welcome into the stream also. Changing up Mike Joy's Dale Sr. winning the Daytona 500 1998 quote up a little bit for my win last night at Daytona. Yeah, we broke a curse, to say the least. Still got to get the Daytona 500 win at some point. We'll have to wait at least until NASCAR 07 for that. And that'll be even a longer time in the making. But yeah, I mean, it took over 2 years to get that win. We still haven't won a Daytona 500. That's the sad part. We're 0 for 6 in the Daytona 500 on the EA Sports games yet. That's an extra 100 miles. Like that's what I had to do last night just to fight to stay up there for the finish. But now I got to do it for an extra 100 miles. Not gonna be easy. Win the Cup Championship. Not alone, yeah. Well, appreciate you guys being behind me for that. Long time listener, first time caller. I mean, we don't take call-ins necessarily, but I feel like I get demonetized. Not that I don't trust you guys, but I feel like somewhere along the line somebody's gonna say something and be like, ah, gonna have to bleep that out. Gonna have to edit this at the end of the stream. Well, hopefully it doesn't take me 15 times to win. We don't have that many EA Sports games left. We only have 3 left. We're running out of time to win that Daytona 500. Just tuning in for the first time, we've had 1 caution in the early going of today's race. Took place at lap 38. Kyle Busch has led every lap from the pole so far and is out to about a 7 to 8 tenths of a second lead over Carl Edwards, who is in second. Kenny Wallace, who is the closest competitor on speed to Kyle Busch in the early going, blew an engine while running in second place on lap 30. 119 car we know of also blew an engine in the early going. Our teammate Brian Vickers was back in 11th place the last we saw of him prior to that first caution. As we've gone through both field passes already, he qualified second, so he really dropped back quickly. Remember, he comes in second in points behind Kyle Busch as well. It's definitely concerning for Vickers as he's running out of time to try to catch Kyle Busch in the championship hunt. He keeps slipping back. It's only going to help Kyle more and more and more. He already needs a lot of help. Going to need a couple DNFs out of Busch if he's going to win. Maybe not even DNFs, but just really, really bad finishes. And then Vickers going to have to capitalize. He had a chance to at Charlotte, but unfortunately finished 12th, also outside the top 10, despite the fact that Kyle Busch ended up 17th. And even Clint Boyer finished one position behind Kyle Busch as well. Third in the standings. So he actually lost points to Busch, even though Busch had a bad day. Boyer had an even worse day. Boyer was just inside the top 10 the last we saw. He was hovering right around 7th or 8th, but that was prior to the caution, so I'm not sure where he cycled in both the pit stops and the restart. Kyle Busch has not pitted yet. He's the only car that still has to pit. So he stayed out on the track to continue to lead laps. Needs to lead 100 to clinch the most laps led, and he's already led the first 56, so he's off to a good start. Felt confident in the race car with the handling and the speed that he was going to be able to, at the very least, at least hold on to his car, even if he lost the lead and fell back a couple spots, but he's still in the lead. No, I know. I don't like using the team communicators too much. Like, we'll swap through the field. It's kind of my way of doing a, you know how NBC kind of does the through the field thing? Like, that's kind of like our version of it with these older EA games. Obviously, we haven't been able to do that until NASCAR 06, but... I mean, that's the only reason I really do it. I don't really like using the other ones too much because I feel like it kind of manipulates the race. Like, you wouldn't see that necessarily in real life. I was just so desperate to win Daytona last night for the first time. I don't think I definitely won't do it again for the Cup Series. Trying to catch Edwards for the championship. I want to legitimately try to race him these final 6 races. Both rear tires in the yellow and the tire wear indicator. Ever since the right rear went to that state of the tire wear on the upper right-hand corner of the screen a few laps ago, Busch's car has started to get even looser, and Carl Edwards is slowly starting to reel Busch back in. Kyle's still doing a pretty good job, though, hanging onto his car. Pretty easy, though, when you don't have any traffic around you, both in front or behind. Doesn't have to worry about the air getting taken off the rear spoiler and get him even more looser what he already is. Including air in front. Not going to plow the car going into the corners and push it up the track any more than what it might already be doing as the rear of the car slips. Suggestion to win a title work, Mark? Well, hey, I mean, if you guys vote for me to race as him, I definitely will do it. You guys get that vote. That's the loosest Busch has looked off the exit of a corner right there off turn 4. That was the first time he really had to lift off the exit of the corner to try to keep control of the car. Oh, yeah. It's cliffing now. It was fine up until a couple laps ago. Now it's just progressively getting worse. And slipped into the wall that time. 63 laps left for Kyle Busch to start the race, but any lap now, Carl Edwards is going to end up taking the lead. Busch wiggles, slides. He's coming in this time. He's going to give Edwards the outside. Kyle Busch will make his way to pit road off of turn 4. Maybe. He battled through the corner well enough. He still led another lap. I mean, if he's still in the lead, I guess try to hang on to it. He's trying to figure out how to drive the car while it's this loose. A little bit better those last couple corners. It's kind of feeling like Atlanta at the end of the Cup race we had there a few weeks ago. And now Edwards to the lead. So 64 laps led for Kyle Busch to start the race today. Carl Edwards now out in front. Eighth of a tank of fuel left at this point in the run right now for Busch. He's trying to stretch it because if he can go about 67 laps, he can make this on 2 stops. We had a caution, so he's probably going to have to go to about lap 70. So that's the main reason why he's trying to stay out right now. Just to make this race on 2 stops. And everybody else on fresher tires right now than Kyle Busch. So Edwards was eventually able to run him down. Kyle's doing a good job keeping control of his car. It's the 3rd time it's about looped around in the middle of the corner on him. But he's still hanging on to it. It feels so weird. I'm like out of the gas so much in the middle of the corner, like wait, patiently wait, tap the gas, feel the rear tire spinning. Okay, wait, tap it again. All right, wait some more. Okay. Clint Boyer's driven up to 2nd now after Busch got in the wall for the 2nd time. He's got Kenseth. Yeah, Kenseth got him arrow loose. Busch going to try to stay to the outside. He's doing a great job hanging onto the car. That's about the 4th time it's almost spun out on him now. He's trying to nurse it to lap 70 is really all he's trying to do. Keeps getting cars behind him. He can handle it on his own when there's nobody around him. The problem is now he's got a bunch of traffic. Oh yeah, Tokyo Drift. What is this? Travis Pastrana? He's not NASCAR yet. Busch really pushing the fuel as far as he can. Pushing the tires as far as he can go. Yeah, there's another scrape. Here's Jourdain. He spun. He's catching back up to us. Yeah, we're coming in. I was scared of that. Oh, my gosh. That's what I get for trying to pit from the 2nd lane. God bless America. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot sometimes, I swear. Did a good job saving the car, and I couldn't really see to the bottom of the track from where we were at. There's no look-back cam in this game. And you can only see so much out of the rear view. Caused the accident, so he cannot pit for fuel or tires. He's going to have to stay on the same set. Pretty big hit there for Kyle Busch as well. I really hope that does not get it. I mean, that... I take 100% of the blame on that one. that was just stupid. Usually I can drive it out, but it was a little too much there. I should have pitted as soon as I lost the lead. Or at least 2nd for that matter, because there's a big gap back to Boyer. So Edwards' big lead has gone away. Green flag's going to be back in the air in the restart. Oh yeah. The tires were cooked before. After that spin, they're even more cooked. Busch will have to pit this time. Second straight race he's been involved in an accident. Although in the last race it wasn't an accident, he just kind of self-spun. And not because he was struggling for grip by any means. So Kyle Busch is coming into the pits. He definitely pushed it quite a ways there. 4 tires and fuel for Busch. Not going to make any adjustments because the car is really good for 60 laps. Once you get 60 laps into the run, good luck. 75 laps before his first stop of the race, so there's a good chance he could actually still make it on one more stop. Everybody else stayed out of the pits during that second caution. And caution is out, but I think Kyle Busch went a lap down first. We'll have to wait and see. Probably a debris yellow. That's either going to be a good caution for Busch or it's going to be bad caution. It's going to be good if he's on the lead lap. It's definitely debris off turn 4. A couple cars with severe damage. Busch just pitted, so he's definitely staying out. I'd imagine the rest of the field will stay out again as well. So Kyle Busch going to have fresher tires. I think he's on the lead lap still. He is, so that works out perfectly, actually. Green flag back in the air. He still has 3 sets of tires left. Lap 80 on the restart for Carl Edwards leading the field. I just hope we still have good speed in the car. I think we will. It'll be tough to tell for sure, though, on this run. And we've got caution again. Oh, my gosh, debris. Busch hit a piece. It was shed in, like, 2 different pieces there. Somebody ran it over, and then there were multiple pieces laying down, and Busch ran over the one piece with the left side tires. I think all of his tires are up, though. And it sounds like everybody just pitted, which means Kyle Busch is going to be back in the lead again. Well, maybe it was a good idea we stayed out as long as we did. All right. Sometimes you just get that lucky. I mean, those are probably the 2 quickest and ugliest, or not the ugliest, but the 2 luckiest back-to-back cautions we could have ever asked for. Kyle Busch back right where he is. Now we'll get to see exactly what kind of speed is still in the 5 car after we've had a couple debris yellows. Excuse me. Giving us 4 cautions in the early going of today's race. Edwards looking to the inside of Kyle Busch for that lead. Has not cleared him yet. Busch on the outside. He'll side draft the 60. I don't think Kyle Busch has the speed he once did after that crash, because even on those older tires, he was kind of pulling away initially on the restart. Edwards to the lead right now. Busch trying to get right back underneath him, though. He'll battle Edwards into turn 1 and 2. So we're basically right back to where we were, thankfully. And everybody's on the same strategy for the most part, too. Despite the fact Busch has only pitted once and everybody else has pit twice. I mean, it makes sense that everybody pitted during that fourth yellow, just because they would have already... They pitted during the first caution, which was right around lap 38. Maybe even a little bit. I think we restarted from that first yellow lap 38. So, I mean, they had about 50 laps on fuel already. I'm surprised they didn't pit under the couple cautions that came out prior to that. I think after they came out so frequently, they're probably thinking, all right, maybe we're not going to get another debris caution, so it's all pit now. I just so happened to get Kyle Busch back in the lead. We're right back to square one, just like that. Like nothing happened. So, we're going to go 60 laps. We can either go 60 laps or pit with 60 to go. Either or would be good to make it on 2 stops. And I think Kyle Busch running that first run out, although it didn't look like it was a very good idea, in hindsight it ended up actually being a good idea, because if he didn't do that, at some point in this race he was going to have to push it on old tires. So it's kind of good that we got that run out of the way early. And now I can just worry about making some 60-lap stints, and as soon as it starts to slip away, we pit right away, and we're golden. Literally couldn't have been any better. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. In the lieu of those cautions coming out repetitively there for a little bit, that worked out perfectly for us. Usually you don't like cautions when you're leading because it bunches the field back together and then your big lead's gone, which we've had a couple decent-sized leads today, but in that scenario, it actually worked out pretty well. Almost halfway home. Now, Edwards was able to lead for a little bit. Busch led 63 laps before giving the lead up to Carl Edwards. Edwards is the only other driver to lead today outside of Kyle Busch. Busch doesn't have that same pull-away speed that he had, but he's still got enough speed to be able to hang on to the lead, but that gap has definitely been closed as far as how fast the 5 is versus the rest of the field. That's the only downside of that wreck. Good news is, obviously, he didn't DNF. Continues in. We haven't seen Kyle Busch wreck too many times this year. I'm not even going to include Charlotte, just because I did save it there. I mean, California, we wrecked a couple times in that race. Finished outside the top 10, 14th, but Daytona, I guess, towards the end. But that wasn't my fault. That was Michael Jourdain Jr. for crowding us into the wall. But you know, self-inflicted wrecks, I mean, that's got to be like the second time maybe all season. Second race all season that I've made the mistake and wrecked. In the Busch series, at least. It's part of why we've just had so much success. I mean, I'm just not making any mistakes. And in tonight's case, we made a mistake and got kind of lucky. Everything's going right this season. Not having to play catch-up like we did in our Do It for Dale Busch Series season. We did still win the championship, but it came down to the final race, and it was a pretty tight battle. Went into that race knowing we had to beat Boyer by a couple positions. And we were able to do so. Right at this very track, of course. We'll be halfway home in about 4 laps. every lap beyond 60 to go that Kyle Busch can go on these tires, the better he'll be on the final run if we get any late race restarts because of some late cautions. Doesn't want to have to deal anywhere close to what he had to deal with in that first run ever again in this race. In any race, for that matter. Slowly starting to get away from Carl Edwards. That middle point in the run is where Busch runs his fastest laps of the run, and that's really where he's able to get away from the field, but then he kind of burns his tires too much by the end because of that middle portion. He's pretty even on short run speed. I think we saw that when Kenny Wallace was behind him earlier. It took him a good 20-25 laps to actually start pulling away from him, and it's kind of similar here to Carl Edwards. We're a little over 15 laps in the run. He's finally out to a 0.7 of a second lead. Edwards was right there on his back bumper and even took the lead for a lap or two on the restart initially. So the short run car for Kyle Busch on fresh tires, as well as the very, very long run car when he has over 60 laps on his tires, is where it's at its worst. Obviously, the handling wise, it's on the latter of the two, but just speed wise, that is where everybody else is able to at least have something competitive for Busch today. Busch just ran his fastest lap of the race again that last time by at the start-finish line. It was a 32.0. Maybe we'll see some lap times in the 31.9s. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Still have a half a race to go. 100 down, 100 left. Make that 99 left. Another fast lap. 32.069. That was a couple hundredths of a second quicker than the lap before. Yeah, that's what I mean. The middle part of the run here. Between like 20 to 50 laps, like that range on tires, this car is unbeatable. It's loose, but I can drive it, and loose is fast if you can hang on to it. That I can hang on to it without scrubbing too much time off of it, off the exit of the corner, just trying to overcorrect and accidentally keeping that, or not accidentally, but just keeping the car as straight as possible. I'm able to, but yeah, once it gets to about 60 laps in, it really cliffs. The flip of a switch, it's very quick. Hopefully with the damage, it doesn't get looser earlier in the run. We'll also have to watch out for that this time around. We didn't really have to watch out for that earlier. So he pitted at lap 75, but we had 3 cautions in the time it took from that pit stop. So we've had about 9 caution laps. So if you look at the green flag laps on his tires right now, he has only really gone about 18 laps. If I do my math correctly. From 75. Domino's guy. Honestly, like, ever since I was young, we order pizza as a family a lot. I honestly, like, I don't see myself on my own really eating pizza that much. Like now, and I could see, like when I'm on my own, like I don't think I'd really order pizza. It's alright every now and then. It's just kind of old, eating the same thing at least once a week for almost my entire life. If I had to pick one place that is probably the best, or at least, not the best, but my personal favorite, I don't know, that's tough. Because you have to catch it on like a good day too. Like on Pizza Hut's best day, I think Pizza Hut's the best, but you have to catch them like the food, when Pizza Hut is like a 10 out of 10, I don't think anything beats it. I'd probably say most consistent of like the bigger franchises, I'd probably say Domino's is the most consistent. Either that or Papa John's is probably most consistent. Just like quality. Domino's, they have a lot more, like, their appetizers are probably better than like any other pizza place or major pizza franchise. Lap 140 to 150 should be alright. Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely not going to go any further than 50 to go in this race before I pit again. There's no need to. I mean, I guess if the car's still handling really well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. But if it is, you know, really pushing it at really any lap past 60 to go, I think I have to pit. We haven't had to see Kyle Busch really work in traffic today. He fell back on his old tires when everybody else had probably 30 to 40 lap fresher tires than he did. But that was a little different. He was going backwards. He's never had to really be in traffic with the same set of tires today. So we have no clue what this car handles like in traffic. That's one thing that scares me if we do have late race caution where we have to make an extra pit stop and my pit crew doesn't win the race off pit road. Because I didn't practice. Qualified, obviously, I had clean air, qualified on the pole. We have the fastest car in clean air today. But if I don't have that clean air, is this car still going to be on the looser side or is it going to be too tight? I don't want to find out. I really don't. I like things the way they are right now. Hunt Brothers, I don't even know if I've had Hunt Brothers. Maybe I've had it. It's like, I mean, it's gas station pizza at the same time. Like, is it an actual, like, is there a Hunt Brothers pizza that isn't connected to a gas station is what I'm saying? Or are they all like gas station, or is it like a specific gas station pizza chain? I mean, I guess technically it's a franchise, but yeah, I don't know that I've had it. I'm not saying it's gross or anything. Like, I haven't had it. I'm not going that extreme. Beats, we're talking about it down in the chat. Everybody start commenting your favorite place to get pizza if you ever get pizza. I put my take in. I want to see what you guys think. The store you work at sells Hunt Brothers? Okay, so I guess not all gas stations. I don't know that I've seen one anywhere around me, at least, that wasn't connected to a gas station. Never had it either. Yeah, there isn't really too many around me that I know of either. There's this one over by my aunt's house, but she lives like 50 minutes from me, so I only go there a couple times a year, so I never, you know, bother to get Hunt Brothers pizza. Usually when we're going there, we're having some sort of a feast anyway, so I'm not going to spoil it by getting gas station pizza. Yeah, we got a ton of Little Caesars. I mean, well, you're from Michigan, too, so there's probably a lot more where you're at than where I'm at, and there's quite a few where I'm at. Pretty much any town around me that's got a population of at least, like, 5,000 people has a Little Caesars. Michael Turner, thanks for tuning in. Rosetta's? That like a family-owned place? Yeah, I mean, there's some good like family-owned places around me, pizza-wise. There's this one in Toledo. If you guys ever like have to go through Toledo traveling wise or whatever. Oh, man, I can't even remember. I haven't eaten there in a while. I'll look up the name of it. But I'll shout them out because it's really good. It's super expensive. You're gonna pay a pretty penny. But I mean it's gourmet pizza. Like they put their time dedication into making their pizza. Their thin crust is pretty good. I'm not usually a thin crust kind of guy, but they're thin crust pizzas. Buddy's Pizza in Michigan also. That, you know what? That's probably my favorite. I think Buddy's Pizza. It's a chain around Detroit. There's like 3 of them, I think, but they're all based in Detroit. That's got some really good pizza. Wade, you might know what I'm talking about. I've eaten there before a couple Red Wings games before. I've probably eaten there like 2 or 3 times. It's really good. So if you ever go to Detroit, go to a Buddy's Pizza. That's probably number 1. If I had to pick. I just haven't gotten the chance to eat there enough. Like, I go to Detroit often, but I don't want to get pizza every single time I go there. Like, quite often. I mean, well, I don't go there as often as I used to. I used to go there for games like twice a month. But then when I started the YouTube channel, now I've been going to a lot more NASCAR races, and I prefer that. I still go to Detroit a couple times a year the last few years, but not going as often to see like a baseball game during the summer, just a couple times. You know, Buddy's Pizza's pretty good. Papa Murphy's. Yeah, I've never had Papa Murphy's. I don't really know where there's one near me. I've seen it before, but or at least heard of it. If you do go there, you'll try it. Yeah, it's good. Best Detroit-style pizza I've ever had, at least. People say that I've heard some gripes from people in the NASCAR YouTube community that they think Detroit-style pizza is highly overrated. Now, I will say, I think Detroit-style pizza gets a bad rap for, like, you know, I don't know, like, not every Little Caesars is going to sell Detroit-style pizza the same way. If they put the pizza sauce on the top of the pizza, Detroit-style, it does have to be evenly portioned. When it's evenly portioned, it's good. You know, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's good. You know, it's quality pizza. But, I mean, I could see, I've had Detroit-style pizza from places before where it's not evenly proportioned and, like, all the sauce is up against the crust and there's, like, no sauce in the first half of the pizza. That's not good. Like, then the pizza's just dry. You're eating a pizza without sauce for the first half of it, and then you have, like, nothing but sauce on the second half. Like, that's just being lazy. That's just not evenly proportioning your sauce on your pizza. Actually, I think the last time I had Pizza Hut, it was like that. We had Detroit style. It was like a week or 2 ago. And I'm like, this has got to be some of the worst Detroit style pizza I've ever had. This is what I mean. Pizza Hut was not a 10 out of 10 that night. When they're on, but when they're not, you feel like you get robbed. Like, man, I just got robbed of my dinner. Then it gets expensive. Then you regret your decision because you didn't really enjoy it as much as you thought you would. Ambassadors. Yeah, I've never heard of it. Like another local Detroit one. I don't even know where we found out about Buddy's Pizza. I think we just kind of Googled it one day before a... Pretty sure it was before like a Wings or a Pistons game. We were going to. It was like, oh, alright, let's try it. So be it. Matthew Dorter Bruno, thanks for tuning in also. 75 laps to go. Kyle Busch continues to lead halfway through the field run, a little past halfway through it. 1.1 second lead for Busch at this point in the race. I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you are as well. Kyle Busch has dominated. He's already clinched the most laps led, but this is not a gimme kind of a race. We saw in that first fuel and tire stint today, this car gets very tough to handle at the very end of the run. And that's how Carl Edwards was able to take the lead from Busch that first time. And Busch had to just kind of hang on for dear life for about 12, 13 laps. Hopefully we can kind of manage the tires well enough to not have to go as far as we did. This race is possible to make on 2 stops. Everybody else has pitted twice during cautions. Busch has only pitted once. Got a perfectly timing yellow that he didn't have to go a lap down. Then had a couple more yellows after the fact that by the time everybody else pitted the second time, he ended up right back in the lead on the same pit strategy for the most part. He'll have to pit slightly before everybody else, but not by much. And we may see some drivers pit as soon as the window opens to the end of the race as well. Right rear tire is now in the yellow on the tire wear indicator, so we're getting fairly close to that point where the car's going to start to get extremely loose again. Busch is still growing his lead for the meantime. Now it's 1.2 to 1.3 second lead over Edwards. Edwards has not won a Busch Series race. He's won 2 Cup races and almost won at Daytona last night, finishing second. Got passed coming to the white flag by his teammate Greg Biffle. So we were able to get our 12th win of the season there. Both Mark Martin and Matt Kenseth in the Busch Series each have 2 wins. Kenseth just won the most recent race at Charlotte. I thought it was his first of the year. When I went back through my statistics, because I've been keeping track of everything for all 3 series, it was Kenseth's second win. So pardon me for that one. I didn't remember him winning a race before that. But I guess he did. He does have 1 Cup win as well. Mark Martin's got 2 Busch wins and 3 Cup wins. He's having pretty solid seasons. Obviously, the Cup regulars, not all of them at least, run every Busch race. Some of them have. Obviously, our driver Kyle Busch is. Still not having to lift any extra yet off the end of the exit of the corner. We're down to just 70 laps to go at the line. Busch really wants to milk this run out at least 10 more laps. The longer he goes, the less he's going to have to deal with a badly and ill-handling car at the very end of the race. It's the loosest it's gotten during the run. If he can keep the car down towards the bottom of the track more up the exit of the corner, it doesn't get quite as loose, but once he washes up out of the groove, it gets really tough to hang on to. Like, it wasn't as bad that time. Oh my gosh. Maybe it was. Busch is hard on the brakes right now, and he is trying to catch his car. That was just wrong. He's really overcooked the tires after that slide now. It wasn't that bad, but Busch overcorrected it. And because he overcorrected it, now he's really in trouble. Because Edwards has just taken the lead away with 68 to go. And Busch is still a little more than 60 laps out, which is where he wants to be. He's reeled it back in these last couple laps, though, and he's slowly creeping back in on Edwards. I don't know how it got that loose that quick. It didn't take that long. I wonder if the damage he had from an earlier accident is the reason why it got looser quicker into the run than it did before. Trying to minimize the amount of time Carl Edwards is leading right now over the 5. I think Busch is going to have to make a wedge adjustment under this stop. He didn't make any adjustments during the first stop. I think he's going to have to under this next one because he can't take the risk of it being this loose again. It's going to slow him down in the middle portion of the run, but he's going to have to bite the bullet. Still in second. Kenseth right there behind him. Busch sliding up. He didn't want to get aero loose that time, so he's going to let Matt Kenseth go, as well as Clint Boyer. So Kyle Busch just kind of letting the traffic go around him. He's not worried about losing positions right now. He's more worried about trying to get to 60 to go before pitting. I would have kept it off the wall if the 6 wasn't there. He's trying to give her as much room as possible. Would have appreciated if she gave me a little more room. 3.8 seconds off the lead already. It's amazing how quick the car just falls off. Overcorrected it that time. Jesus. It's like, it's fine, and then it's not fine all of a sudden. At random. Brian Vickers coming in. Casey Kane will get by Kyle Busch for 4th place. Edwards still out on the track. Good thing Busch has already clinched the most laps led. Busch does not want to pit this time. The plan will be to pit the following lap. Looks like John Hamilton's coming into the pits. Busch didn't have to worry about somebody right on his back bumper. Busch not going to take the access road when he does pit. He's definitely within the fuel window to make it to the end. That's why we're seeing quite a few drivers pit right now. I've never had a car cliff this bad. I've never had a car go from like fastest car on the track to like really bad that quick all of a sudden. I don't think ever. Not in an EA game at least. Maybe NASCAR 21 Ignition or something like that. But Busch is coming in. Wasn't a great pit road entry, but it was a pit road entry. Going to put a half a round of wedge into the car. 4 tires and fuel for Kyle Busch with this wedge adjustment. Carl Edwards is in the same time as Kyle Busch. So Busch is going to have to go 60 laps on the next set of tires. But I was able to manage them that well early in the race. We got to manage them well this time, and hopefully tightening it up will help. Gotta hope. There went Carl Edwards. Busch going to be a few seconds behind him, but he was already a few seconds behind anyway. Kenseth using that access road as he makes his way off of pit road right now. He's in 15th. Well, it's nice to have fresh tires again. So Kyle Busch needs to make sure that he makes some clean passes. Not overcorrect the car as much throughout the course of the run. Really save those rear tires if he's going to want a shot to win this race at the very end. He's going to have to do some catch-up in the middle of this run as well, because he's fallen quite a bit behind Carl Edwards. This is no easy task. Crocker misses the corner, goes a little bit wide in turns 1 and 2. Kyle Busch all over Aaron Crocker's back bumper off turn 2. Busch going low. Underneath the 6, side by side, and with his half round of wedge into the car, it's still turning really well. And he is going to clear Crocker off the exit of turn 4. As many laps as I've led today, it feels like I should dominate and win this race, but at the same time, knowing how much the car cliffs, I should have known it wasn't going to be that easy. I thought after the first run and then starting to pull away that second run of the race, I thought it was maybe going to be alright, but that's the problem with trying to stretch this into 2 stops versus 3 is we're losing a lot of time on those older tires. And it may end up working itself out, it may not. The only way to find out is to get to the checkered flag, and then we'll see. Got a car blowing up. 152, another fantasy driver has blown an engine. Hopefully we stay green. Got 4 cautions today. Second half of the race so far has gone caution-free. It's the longest green flag run of the day thus far as well. Gone about 50 laps, a little over 50 laps during this green flag run. The longest before that was the first 35 laps we had at the start of the race for the first caution. Busch closing in on the 2. Clinton Boyer. Boyer blocking off the exit of turn 4. Lap traffic up where race leader Carl Edwards is at. Kyle Busch to the inside of the 2. Kenseth's car bottoming out a little bit. Kenseth is the second place car, so Edwards still at a decent sized lead. He's almost 3 seconds ahead of second. Busch is definitely fast enough to get to Edwards, pull away from him again. Can he build up enough of a lead for when those tires start to cliff at the very end of the race? It's going to be the big question. Will this wedge adjustment help him make it that much further on these tires before they really start to fall off? Busch underneath Matt Kenseth. Clear and clean pass through turns 1 and 2. Busch back to P2. Less than 2.5 seconds behind Edwards. A few lap cars between the top few. Busch driving it in really deep into 3 and 4. So everybody's going to be good on fuel to the end of the race. 50 laps to go. Busch has already gone 10 laps on these tires. Got 50 more still to go. Comment in the chat if you think Kyle Busch will win this race. And do you think his tires are going to fall off extremely before the end as well? Saw how quickly that 1.3 second lead dissipated. Kyle Busch got really loose off turn 4 and lost the lead to Edwards. Even bigger lead over him earlier in the race too. A win, but close. Carl Edwards is battling very, very hard through lap traffic. He's got quite a bit of lap cars around him. He's not really able to get his car all the way down to the bottom while making those passes, and now they're 3 wide right behind the 60. At least it's out of his rear view for himself, not front. So 2 straight nights we're going to have to try to beat Carl Edwards for the win. 2 different series. And he's still got a lot of lap traffic around him. No more in front of him, they're all behind him, but it is a mess behind Carl Edwards right now. They're 3 wide again as Busch is starting to close in. Now Busch is going to have to try to figure out how he's going to get around these guys. I think one of the lap cars, the 86, is on the inside of Edwards. No, not quite. Tried to get underneath them on the backstretch, couldn't quite get there. They're all moving up out of the way for Kyle Busch. And Busch is able to keep his car pinned down to the bottom a lot better than Carl Edwards. Remember, Edwards and Busch pitted on the same lap, so they'll each have to go 60 laps on tires. No lap cars between the top 2 anymore as Busch enters into 3. Edwards about a car off the bottom compared to the 5 in the middle of 3 and 4 that time. Busch definitely has more grip at this point in the run. But Edwards is able to maintain it a lot better over the long haul. And now he's blocking. He knows the longer he can keep the 5 behind him, the better for himself. Busch to the inside in turn 3, and that might be a battle short-lived as Kyle Busch is going to pull off the slide job and clears Carl Edwards as he comes for 43 laps to go at the start-finish line. Kyle Busch back in the lead at Homestead and just ran his fastest lap, 32.04 for that last lap. And trying to pull away from the 60. Now we pray. Lord, give me the strength. Jesus, don't be afraid to take the wheel if you need to. Busch is hoping to build up a gap on Edwards at some point in time. He's been able to, but again, this is a different handling race car, at least in the short run. A lot more snug than what it was before. And he was over 3 seconds off the lead, so he definitely had to pace a lot quicker in the early going of the run to catch Edwards like he did. With this setup, he was running his faster laps of the race, but it was much earlier in the run this time than where he's been running those fastest laps of the race before that. So top 2 will get around the lap car. $40 to go. Honestly, there's quite a few cars a lap down. I think if a caution comes out, good chance Kyle Busch is going to pit. I just do not trust the car in the long run. And at least now that we're able to see what this car handles like in traffic, it's not that bad. Running down Edwards like nobody's business. Obviously, depends on how many laps we're going to have left on the restart also. if we get down to like 10 or so laps to go, because we don't know exactly how many cars are on the lead lap. Don't want to just guess it, and then we end up restarting like 18th with 8 to go or something. We're not going to be able to get up there. Not going to have enough laps. Although at the same time, we might on 40 lap fresher tires. Most of these guys pitted with about 60 to go. Give or take, some pitted just before, just after. Still to this point in the race, only Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch have led. Well, there were actually a few other cars that led during green flag pit stops, but on the actual racing side of things today, not counting green flag pit stops and the sequence of who may have led laps by staying out longer there, only Busch and Edwards have led. And Kenny Walsh definitely would have been a factor if he could have made it to the end of the race. He's very fast early. It blew an engine really early as well on lap 30 where he blew the motor. Busch slowly pulling away from Edwards, half a second lead. Busch needs to build that out, because if he starts to get loose, he will get even more loose if he's got a car right on his back bumper. So he's going to need that separation for Carl Edwards. Not only so that way Edwards has to try to run him back down some amount of time. Again, Kyle Busch is going to need all the grip he can get. And if he's got somebody on his rear spoiler, we already saw with Ken's that he pretty much got too loose and ended up nearly spinning out. He definitely clipped the wall at the right rear. And that was before the actual crash. It was a couple laps before it. Perfect corner that time through 1 and 2 for Busch. Really, once the tires start to get into the yellow, that first tire starts to go, that's where it's going to slowly start to cliff. A few laps after that, it's going to be really bad. Not even halfway through the fuel run yet, though. It shouldn't really get halfway through the fuel run until closer to 20 to go. Little more than 20 to go. Closer to there than 30. 0.8 of a second lead for Busch. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already done so. You're watching the Ford 300 at the Homestead-Miami Speedway right now. Kyle Busch going for his 8th Busch win of the year. And his first win in 4 races. It's only the 20th race of the season to this point. And he's only finished outside the top 10 twice, including his last race at Charlotte. He finished season worst 17th. And it was the first race he didn't finish on the lead lap as well, so ended that streak to start the year, finishing on the lead lap in every race. Got through 18. Almost a 1 second lead, 3 wide off of turn 2 with a couple lap cars above Busch. Might be a little tight getting into 3. Busch down on the bottom, but his car has handled really well to this point in the run. 30 to go at the line. One of those cars he just passed without a hood. One of the cars that shedded debris and brought out a caution for that earlier. So he was involved in that big wreck in turns 3 and 4. Kyle Busch gets by this 112. He's going to have quite a ways before he catches another lap car after that. I'm going to be shocked. He can go about another 10 plus laps Curious as to what that lead is going to end up growing out to be before the car starts to get loose. It'll definitely be more than 1.3 seconds, which is where it was at before Edwards took the lead before the final pit stops. .27 to go. Most clean air in front of Kyle Busch, really, since before they started to get into lap traffic right around lap 120. And it's the longest green flag run of the race, as we have gone almost 100 laps since the last caution. Kind of similar to Kansas, where a lot of the yellows came out early in the race. We had 3 yellows in the first 50 laps. Final 150 went caution-free. Today at Homestead, we had 4 cautions in about the first 75 laps. And I go about 125 free to the finish as well. 24 laps left for Kyle Busch. I'm glad I made the wedge adjustment change because the car still feels fairly stable at this point in the run. It doesn't really feel that loose at all. Not quite as snug as what it was at the start of the run, but not where it has been after about nearly 40 laps like it was the first couple runs of the race. Halfway out of fuel now, coming to 23 to go at the line. 32.187. Busch's fastest lap during this run and of the race was a 32.044. So lap times have dropped off a little bit, but not whole lot, considering they're almost 40 laps in. About a tenth and a half. And now about a 1.7 to 1.8 second lead over Edwards. And Matt Kenseth was pretty far behind Carl Edwards as well. So it's pretty much going to be between the top 2 to win this. Because even if Kyle Busch gets too loose, loses the lead to Edwards, he's not going to be able to keep up with him. And I don't think he's really going to be able to hold him up much either. I was wondering what crab chips are when you mentioned that in the chat. I've never heard of it. I didn't know that was a thing. Virginia crab chips. I mean, it sounds like it'd be good. I'm a big seafood eater. I don't eat it much, but I really like it. There's just nowhere to get it around me. I mean, there's some nice places on the lake to eat, but they're only open like 6 months out of the year, so not like I live in a place where it's warm year-round. Catching the 113. Busch will make the pass. 2.5 second lead. I'm assuming Edwards is still in second. He's really dropped back. Busch picked up to a 32.124 that last lap. Picked up about 0.06 of a second from those couple laps prior. 19 to go. I wonder if Edwards is still... I would think Edwards is still in second because Kenseth was about this far behind Edwards even. There's no way he ran him down. Kenseth's probably 5 seconds off the lead, if not more. This is what Kyle Busch wants, though. 18 to go. Car still feels fine for now. None of his tires have gone into the yellow and the tire wear indicator yet, so that's good. I'm talking about food a lot on the stream tonight, I've kind of noticed. Talking about pizza earlier. Now we're talking about crab chips. Not expect. There's just some conversations we tend to have on a nightly basis that I just never know we're going to get into until we end up getting into it. Like, I can't prepare for that kind of stuff before the race starts. I'm just prepared on trying to give good commentary throughout the race and see what happens as we go. Yeah, something has happened to Edwards now. I don't think he's in second anymore. Kyle Busch has over a 5-second lead. Edwards not on pit road, 16 laps to go. That's huge for Kyle Busch when his tires start to slip away. That's extra time he's got. But I think something has happened to Carl Edwards. We are still green. See, if we had a caution this late in the race, that would be a tough decision to pit. Again, we don't know exactly how many cars are in the lead lap. Plus, you got to figure the caution will... The caution itself is going to end up taking up a couple extra laps as well. Down to 15 laps to go and a 5.4 second lead. So Matt Kenseth might be the new driver trying to run down Busch, and Kenseth trying to go for back-to-back wins. He's going to need some help. Kyle Busch's car is going to have to fall off, or there's going to have to be a caution, because right now Busch's car is still handling well. J.J. Yaley is right in front of Kyle Busch. He is a rival. I think he got caught up in that accident right around lap 75 earlier. That might be why he's upset. Definitely don't remember getting into him at Charlotte. Maybe I did, but I don't remember it. Well, that's not what Kyle Busch wants in this situation. He needs to get around him clean, because if he hits him hard enough and Busch gets loose, his tires are going to be gone. Busch to the inside of Yaley. Alright, Yaley didn't take a swing at him. Busch appreciates that. Busch will clear the 18 off of turn 4, 12 to go. 5.7 second lead for Kyle Busch. Yaley, one of the cars without a hood. He's another driver that has shed some debris at some point in this race today. We had 2 debris yellows of the 4 cautions we've seen. 2 crashes. The Busch crash and then the Jourdain crash. Right rear tire in the yellow on the tire wear indicator. We're down to 11 to go. Busch's car still handling well. He was another 10th quicker than second that last lap. He's likely no longer racing the 60. I mean, he still could be, but I didn't think Kyle Busch was going to pull this far out ahead. And with 10 laps to go, this is exactly what Kyle Busch wanted. Make that last run out to 60 to go. Car definitely starting to free up now. 10 laps left. Get to the end of the run, but build up enough of a lead with that adjustment change. Handled a lot better off turn 2 that time than turn 4 the lap before that. Let it feed out to the wall a little bit. Not trying to overcorrect the car. Pretty even with second place the last lap or two now. He knows he could give up about a second a lap, so this thing is not over yet. 8 to go. Just really wants this to stay green, because if the caution comes out, I think Busch is going to be a sitting duck on the restart. There he goes. It kind of got a little loose that time. It turned way too low off the exit of the corner. He wasn't trying to go to the apron there. Car just kind of went there on its own. It's only the right rear that's going into the yellow so far, though. Once the left rear goes, it's going to cliff even more. As it hasn't really cliffed yet. It's just slowly getting looser. That lead's still growing, though. 5.9 seconds now, and those cars further behind might be dealing with the lap car Busch passed a handful of laps ago. Now the left rear is in the yellow on the tire wear indicator. 6 to go. That half around a wedge that Kyle Busch's team put into that car before the start of the run is definitely the difference maker right now. His car has lasted a little longer than it did the last run. And he's built up a bigger lead as well. Brandon Miller in the 21, next car in front of Busch. And honestly, Kyle Busch isn't even going to try to pass him. He doesn't want to take any risk of having a car on his rear bumper taking the air off the spoiler. As it's just starting to get loose. It's not terrible by any means yet. Last lap was a 32.279, so he has fallen off about 2.5 tenths. And he's about a tenth and a half slower than what he was even 10, 15 laps ago. Left 4 to go this time by. Couple tenths quicker that last lap for second place. Busch picked up just a little bit. 21 of Brandon Miller going wide. Busch underneath of him off the exit of turn number 2, but he's going to let Miller go. He does not want to pass the 21. He's going to take it really easy going into the corner. We're late enough now, caution comes out, the race will end. So Kyle Busch is not worried about a caution anymore. Unless it happens right... Unless the 21 spins out right in front of him, then he's going to have to miss it. That would just be... that'd be wild. I don't even want to think about that, honestly. Just talked about it. It might happen now. Brandon Miller going way wide. I guess Busch just going to pass him this time. 2 laps to go for Kyle Busch. A 5.1 second lead. It was 5.9. He's backed it off quite a bit, but he has conserved his tires well. And I think the lead is so big now that it's going to take a freak snap of the car for him to get loose and cost himself the win now. Definitely free on entry that time into 3 and 4. We're sliding up into the upper lane just a little bit, but holds on to the car. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Kyle Busch. What a call making that adjustment change going into this final stop. He's managed his tires better now than at the other 2 tire stints he had prior to this one later in this race. Might have grazed the wall a little bit off turn 2 that time. It's definitely starting to cliff now, but he doesn't have to go another lap. He has managed 60 laps on these tires. The checkered flag is in the air, and Kyle Busch will get his 8th win of the season as he'll win in dominating fashion at Homestead. Let's go. Busch earned this one today. At times throughout the race, it didn't seem like it was going to be as easy as it was at the finish. Great call to tighten that car up, and they did a perfect job. It wasn't too tight. We were still able to make passes through the lap traffic. We were able to get back to the lead because we were about 3 seconds back when we cycled off pit road, just because of how far we had fallen the run before that. And not only we made up all that time, I mean, we net gained 8.5 seconds at one point to the end of this race. So Kyle Busch going to get yet another win. Matt Kenseth ends up second. Carl Edwards really fell off there in that final run, finishes third. Led 37 today. Kenseth led 3 during green flag pit stops. Kyle Busch leads 158 of the 200 laps. Margin of victory 5 seconds. Clint Boyer finished 4th. Solid day. He'll still lose points though to Busch, with Busch getting the max points today. No laps led also for Boyer. Casey Kane, nice run, finishes 5th. Aaron Crocker, another good run, finishes 6th. Irvin 7th. Tony Stewart 8th. John Hamilton 9th. And Luke Trigger rounds out the top 10. Jourdain, who crashed earlier in the race, ended up still finishing 11th. Our teammate Brian Vickers qualified 2nd, quickly fell outside the top 10. That got back in the top 10 a couple different times, but ended up, unfortunately, finishing 14th. Came in 2nd in points, so Busch going to widen that gap out quite a bit again. Back-to-back finishes outside the top 10 for Vickers. And it looks like we had 17 cars finish on the lead lap. Quite a few DNFs. Martin Truex Jr. blew an engine at lap 9. Clark blew an engine lap 26. We saw Kenny Wallace from 2nd blow an engine at lap 29. Clark at lap 100 blew a motor. Johnson at lap 114 blew a motor. Richardson out at lap 144. So we had 6 DNFs total in tonight's race. And we will check out the point standings before we end the stream. How about that? Kyle Busch getting win number 8. Easy pickings. All right. Next race is at IRP for the Busch Series. That's going to be a fun one. Checking the streaming schedule real quick just to make sure we're on the same page for what races tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be racing at Old Spice Speedway in the Truck Series. That will start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the return of the Truck Series. Remember, we're driving as Ricky Craven on that season. That'll be the 12th race out of 25 on the season. So kind of similar amount of races left in the Truck and the Busch Series yet. Again, we're only down to 6 races left in the Cup Series. So still trying to play catch up in these other 2 series. But looks like IRP is the next one for the Busch Series. And that will be not until Monday. So we've got a couple truck races yet this week. We have Old Spice tomorrow. Friday night we have Richmond. Then we'll have a NASCAR 22 race. That'll return on Saturday. Cup Series on Sunday. And I believe we'll have a Busch Series doubleheader on Monday with 200% races, as we'll race at both IRP and then Rockingham. So that's kind of the rest of the week. And yeah, we'll check out the point standings here. I think we're going to have over a 500-point lead now over second, which is just insane. I mean, it really is. It's absurd. Yeah, 532 points. Vickers still in second. He's 20 points ahead of Boyer, despite finishing 14th today, and Boyer finishing 4th. Aaron Crocker up to 4th in points after Kenny Wallace blew a motor and falls back to 5th in the standings. We have almost 1,000 points to Labonte in 10th. And Labonte's ran every race, I believe. Over 1,200 back to Brandon Miller in 11th. He finished the lap down in 18th today. Yeah, massive lead for Kyle Busch. 13 races to go. We might clinch this championship in a few streams if we keep doing double headers, too. We might end up clinching it sometime soon. Why did it say NASCAR 07 for the game? That's weird. Not sure why it says that. Changing that real quick. Alright. Yeah, that's going to end the stream tonight. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. We have 20 likes on the stream right at the end. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We'll be Truck Series racing tomorrow at 6 at Old Spice Speedway. It'll be a fun one. See you guys tomorrow night.